2 years ago, a woman by the name of Anna Wolf exposed Brett Favre and others for their role in tens of millions of dollars being stolen using the TANF funds down in the great old state of Mississippi. And Anna Wolf did amazing work exposing all the players and the scheme to the detail and the degree that it was. And in light of that revelation, then co-host Shannon Sharpe, who was on Undisputed at the time with John Edward Bayless II, also known as Skip Bayless, had something to say in regards to that. And I'm going to play the video of what he said 2 years ago when he was a co-host on Undisputed, and fair use is in effect. Without further ado, DJ, spin that shit.
Well, I don't think none can tarnish it, because if you go back and look at his history when he played in the NFL, they should have tarnished it already. I talked to people that was in the room when Brett Favre went into the Hall of Fame, and nobody mentioned about text messages that he sent to that jet masseuse. Nobody mentioned anything about the addiction that he suffered from. But yet T.O., they brought up everything. Can you imagine if T.O. would have had an incidents like Brett Favre off the field? T.O. still, to this day right now, would not be in the Hall of Fame. Yet they walked right past it like Brett Favre did nothing.
That is true. I give you that.
The problem that I have with this situation, you got to be a sorry mofo to steal from the lowest of the low. Skip, Mississippi is the poorest state in our country.
It is.
Its citizens. So if they're the poorest state, Brett Favre is taken from the underserved. You made $100+ million in the NFL. And they talk about what he didn't know. This is what Brett Favre texted. If you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from and how much? So if you got to ask this question, is there any way the media can find out? You already know you're doing something wrong. The mere fact that you don't want anybody to know. So you know you're doing something wrong. And Skip, he wanted to seem so philanthropic. He wanted to change the perception of the narrative. He take money for some damn volleyball arena.
Well, his
daughter played. You see what Brett Favre did for his alma mater? No, he didn't get no money came out of his pocket. He stole money from people that really needed that money.
Yep.
Man, this is embarrassing. And he's not the only one. Ted DiBiase, a former wrestler, even Marcus Dupree, a great running back at the school that you loved growing up, Oklahoma. He got money. How can you got to be really low to take from the poorest of the poor? Brett, you ain't got enough money? Okay, Skip, listen. You know you're not supposed to have this. But how about go give the damn speeches? They're paying you to give speeches, and you didn't even give the speeches. And now you won't even pay the money back. And they fired one of the guys that say he tried to recoup the money. They fired him he was a Clinton appointee. This was political.
Yep.
Shouldn't you get the money back? Have nothing to do with politics. The man and this is what we know. Skip, when black and brown people do fraud the government, they hell bent. You get an EBT card, and you get WIC, and you get stuff like that, boy, they move heaven and earth to try to put you in jail for $400 little measly dollars.
Fact.
Now this man done took $1 million. Somebody got $3 million. Somebody got $400,000. Yep. And they sitting around like, well, you know, it happened, and we'll see. And they're going to get more money and do it all over again.
And to your point, the Mississippi Department of Human Services had to file a civil lawsuit against Brett Favre because he had not paid back the interest he owed on the $1.1 million that he was fraudulently given for giving no speeches.
Right. And he won't even pay the 1.1 back. He won't even pay the interest on the money.
Right. It's $228,000.
I mean, you got to be really low.
Yeah.
You got to be really low. And people and politicians, you got to be really low too. To know that this money is supposed to go to the most underserved, and you take it and give it to people that's made millions or got millions or have the potential to make millions, and you're willing to do that, you're willing to let your people starve, you let your people go underserved, and Brett Favre, you took this money, ain't nothing go Skip, this is what we know.
Yeah.
If people like you, there is nothing you can do to turn them against you. We've seen this before now. We see what's going on right now. We got people bending themselves, becoming contortionists, trying to explain away what somebody doing with top secret documents at their location. They bend themselves in pretzel. They looking like Neo in the Matrix.
Yep.
So nothing Brett Favre can do. But he's been a sleazeball. He's been shady for a very, very long time.
Now, Shannon Sharpe was not the only person to call out Brett Favre for his shenanigans. You had Pat McAfee also on his outlet calling out Brett Favre for his shenanigans, right? And what did Brett Favre do, right? Brett Favre turned around and sued both Pat McAfee and Shannon Sharpe for defamation. Now, mind you, I've talked about on this very platform about the many players that was involved in this scheme, whether it been Nancy New and her son Zach New, John Davis, Jake Van Landenham. I've broken down how them two was trying to make a drug that cure concussions, and it was going to take that drug and sell it to the NFL, a company called Provacus. I talked about that, right? Talked about Brett DiBiase, talked about Ted DiBiase Jr. Now, most of those individuals I've referred to has either pleaded guilty or they are working with the feds. I talked about how Brett Favre tried to get his name cleared through the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court shot that down, right? Brett Favre tried to get his case tossed through the Mississippi Supreme Court, and they declined it. So last year, Brett Favre then turns around and sues Pat McAfee for defamation. That case got thrown out. In October, when Shannon Sharpe, I talk about October of 2023, when that case went to court against Shannon Sharpe, that case got thrown out. So what Brett Favre tries to do, he tries to double down on stupid and tries to rerun the same play against Shannon Sharpe. Now, I'll be happy to inform you because he tried to run that same play back in July, but then they tried to inject it using a playbook from Sarah Palin, right? Well, news came out that Brett Favre has lost his appeal to Shannon Sharpe again for defamation. A 3-judge panel on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit Monday affirmed a trial judge's ruling last fall to dismiss retired NFL quarterback Brett Favre's defamation lawsuit against sports talk show host and fellow NFL retired player Shannon Sharpe. And the finding that U.S. District Judge Keith Sterrett properly dismissed the lawsuit, Judge Leslie Southwick reasoned that Sharpe was simply offering strongly stated opinions about a widely reported welfare scandal. So, in other words, he was protected by the First Amendment. And as a media member, based on the information he was providing commentary based on that report. So Shannon Sharpe was protected under the First Amendment. So for Brett Favre to come out and try to sue somebody for defamation, and all the meanwhile, all the people that was involved in Brett Favre's scheme, right? Because Brett Favre is a centerpiece of that scheme, because I talked about the text messages, right? So if Brett Favre wasn't involved in this scheme and there was no such thing going on, then how come you got all these people like John Davis, Nancy New, her son Zach New, Brett DiBiase, Ted DiBiase, all these people are copping pleas. Jake Van Landenham, copping pleas. But Brett Favre ain't did nothing wrong. Everybody want to pile on Diddy. Everybody want to talk about Diddy doing this and Diddy doing that. Diddy's in cuffs right now. But meanwhile, Brett Favre is still running around here free. All right. It's been 2 fucking years. When are they going to kick down this man's door waving the 4-4? Now, Viable defamation claims involve statements that are damaging and concern an alleged fact that is in fact false or untrue, as opposed to a damaging statement that's an opinion, and that's exactly what that was. Southwick, in an opinion joined by judges Kyle Duncan and Jeremy Kernodle, stressed that while Sterrett tossed the case on grounds Sharpe's comments were rhetorical hyperbole, the Fifth Circuit sees a different rationale for siding with Sharpe. His statements were protected opinions that were based on disclosed materials, including in news sports. Southwick noted that Sharpe's statements were in response to a Mississippi Today article about Mississippi Department of Human Services civil lawsuit against Brett Favre. Southwick noted that Sharpe made an incorrect statement about Favre having not repaid an additional $1.1 million in temporary assistance for needy families, or TANF, funds, but Bayless corrected that statement on the air to say that Brett Favre had repaid the amount except for the interest. Bayless also stressed that Favre has not been criminally charged. He should have been. He should have been. What taking so damn long? What's taking so long for the feds to be kicking down Brett Favre's door? Brett Favre should have been arrested, tried, prosecuted. I can guarantee you this. Anybody black did some shit like this, and their ass would have already been in the goddamn clink. Their ass would have been doing football numbers in the pokey. You got black folks right now. I talked about many stories about black folks getting put in prison, doing football numbers over crimes they didn't commit. I'm gonna talk about another in a future video. I'm gonna talk about how you had this detective down there in Georgia falsely accused a black man of murder. The black man did a year in prison before he was finally let out. And did anything happen to the detective for police misconduct? Did anything happen to the detective for perjury? No, it did not. You got black folks doing time in football numbers, some even dying in prison over crimes they didn't commit. Meanwhile, we got a protected, we got a NFL Hall of Fame legendary quarterback out of Mississippi, right? He stole all this money. You got all these people pleading guilty and all that, and yet he's still walking around society, doing podcasts, doing commercials, and all that other type of shit. But you got that fat motherfucker, Jason Whitlock, won't call him out on that. Cool ass nigga. Anyway, so let me bring the temperature down a little bit, right? Southwick acknowledged that it's understandable that Favre considers Sharpe's statements to be contemptuous, but underscored that the undisputed program did not imply that Sharpe was relying on any undisclosed facts. Sharpe was instead commentating as a talk show host on the news of the day. Favre can petition for a rehearing in Bach, where, if granted, other judges on the Fifth Circuit would consider the case. However, rehearing petitions are rarely granted. He could then throw a Hail Mary to the Supreme Court, which only accepts 1% or 2% of petitions, and hope it takes the case. Well, he can file wherever. It's still gonna be the same damn result. Where's he gonna kick down his fucking door? Huh? Where's he gonna kick down his goddamn door? They busted a politician out there in that same state. I did a video about that 2 weeks ago. There was a Mississippi politician who was busted for taking bribes and shit. I did a video about that 2 weeks ago. So they could bring her in, right? They could bring her ass in. I talked about this one by the name of Angelique Lee. I talked about her ass 2 weeks ago. She's already pleaded guilty. She can't no longer work as a public servant. She accepted cash and luxury items in exchange for a vote on a real estate deal. The feds busted her on that. She about to do time in prison for over that shit. And she got to pay money back in restitution. And yet Brett Favre took way more than this woman, and he's still running around here free. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. So what taking so long, huh? How much longer we gotta wait? Are y'all gonna run up the clock like y'all did Carolyn Bryant? Y'all gonna run up the clock like y'all did Carolyn Bryant. We all know but what that whole did, and her ass need to rest in fucking piss. Taking all that goddamn money and you ain't did nothing wrong. You squeaky clean. You ain't had nothing to do with that. Okay, so if you ain't had nothing to do with that, then explain that goddamn text message that you sent out. Huh? Oh, if mine is there any way that my name could be could be tied to this? He said this in a text message. What more do you fucking need to criminally prosecute this guy? What more do you need? There's text messages that this man was at the center of this fucking scheme. And I said it before and I'll say it again. Had it not been for that water crisis out there in Mississippi, we would have never known this bullshit was going on. That water crisis out there in Mississippi, that thing exposed everything. Had it not been for that, we would have never known that Brett Favre was out here taking money from the needy and part being greedy. And I know that some funky ass white supremacist could put on the kid to try to protect Brett Favre because, he was his childhood idol growing up. And you can't say anything bad about Brett Favre because, Brett Favre signed my football when I was a kid. And Brett Favre, I had a jersey of him when I bought it from Foot Locker, and he signed that too. So I'm not going to let you talk bad about Brett Favre. Well, guess what? I am going to talk bad about Brett Favre. You know why? Because that motherfucker is a criminal. That motherfucker needed to be locked up. That motherfucker needed to be prosecuted. So for you to funky ass white supremacists out there that's going to come here and try to pull on the kid for Brett Favre, I'm not going to allow it just because you don't like the outcome. Because see, a lot of you funky ass white supremacists fail to understand is that the truth does not care about your feelings, right? The truth, I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. The truth does not care about your feelings. Fuck your feelings. So when Brett Favre getting arrested, huh? When is the feds going to kick down the door, right? Where we going? Where we going with this case? It's been 2 years now. 2 fucking years. And we got nothing. But Brett Favre can still go on podcasts with that Sherman Clump looking stunt double and Jason Whitlock with that fucking gray ass chia pet on top of his head. When will that fucking Krispy Kreme donut eating bastard is going to call out Brett Favre for all that shit he did allegedly? When? But he got so much to say about Andrew Reese. He got so much to say about Deion Sanders. He got so much to say about Serena Williams. You talk about Serena Williams being out of shit? Did you see your big titty ass in the mirror? He got so much to say about other black folks who are better than him at their job than he is at his. Meanwhile, these athletes out here winning gold medals, right? They're getting golden tickets to Hall of Fames. And meanwhile, Jason Whitlock would get cheesy tickets to a Mac and Cheese Festival. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm going to bring the temperature down a little bit, right? Because this ain't about Jason Whitlock and his gelatinous ass. This is about Brett Favre continuing to get away with this bullshit. This is about Brett Favre continuing to get away with this. All the meanwhile, the people that's around him are copping pleas and working with the feds. What more are you looking for? What is taking so long to kick down this man's door? This man here trying to sue people for defamation. All the meanwhile, all the shit that's about him is proven to be true. Now, Brett Favre ain't had his day in court, and parts of me wants to believe that Brett Favre is never going to see a day in court outside of him going on the offensive, but people who are supposedly talking bad about him, even though the evidence is pointing to him being at the middle of this bullshit. What's up, Marco Hinton? And salute to everybody that's in the chat room. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. If you could do me a favor, hit that like button and support the channel, right? Somebody got a birthday coming up, so I would appreciate it, if somebody could show some birthday love, right? But anyway, and no, my birthday is not today. But yeah, that's why I don't understand, and this is why I have a problem with individuals like Kristen Clark, right? Kristen Clark and Merrick Garland. I got a problem with Kristen Clark. Kristen Clark, this right up your fucking alley. Because I can guarantee you, right? I'm willing to bet you that a lot of communities that was affected by that water crisis that happened out there and all that money that got taken, I can almost be certain that a lot of those communities there were black communities that was affected the most. So this should be right up there. This should be right up Kristen Clark's alley. Where the fuck is that woman at, right? But judging by how Kristen Clark performed when it came to the killers of Ahmaud Arbery, I would not expect nothing less from her. This will be a perfect situation for Kamala Harris to come out and say, you know what? Even though Brett Favre is a Hall of Famer and a superstar NFL player in his prime, he committed a crime, and nobody is above the law. Why won't she come out and denounce that? Where's all your Democrat shills at, right? Where are your black conservatives at? You got black communities being targeted from a water crisis. You have white supremacists here stealing money and was spending that money like it was going out of style. And yet, nobody's calling this out. Nobody's calling this bullshit out. It's only the YouTubers, right? The same people that they're looking down on that's calling this bullshit out. The same people that look at us like we're second-rate citizens, like we ain't shit, like we're supposed to be the scan in society, right? It's the YouTubers and the people on social media that's calling this bullshit out, because the mainstream media ain't gonna do it. It's bullshit. So again, y'all got time to go be raiding Diddy's house, take or whatever. You got time to defame Diddy's name. Diddy's name is shit now in these streets. You can't be associated with Diddy and call yourself having some kind of clout behind your name now. Diddy's name is shit. All these people were jumping ship. as long as Diddy was making these white supremacist money, then it was all good in the neighborhood, right? It was all good in the neighborhood as long as Diddy was out there making them money. But the minute Diddy stopped making them money, that's when the protection went. We seen how he had to sell his stick Revolt, Ciroc. You can't even buy Sean John nowhere, right? You can't even get Sean John at a goddamn flea market. All the donations that he was making to these HBCUs, they're giving back the donations and all that. Diddy's name is shit. But yet Brett Favre out here stealing all his money allegedly, and we got to protect Brett Favre. We got to protect Brett Favre. It's the double standard that gets on my fucking nerves. It's the double standards. And if you're supposed to be a person of ethics and you're supposed to be a person of morals, if you're supposed to be a person of respect and honor and all that, you should be outraged by this bullshit too. Because again, these politicians and all these other people want to come out and say, oh, well, nobody is above the law. Okay, then if nobody is above the law, then how we can you know, get the book doing that Lawrence Taylor, and I'm not condoning what Lawrence Taylor did, right? But you can throw the book at Lawrence Taylor, but you don't throw the book at Brett Favre. When it comes to black athletes getting in trouble with the law, then you got these white women that sit on TV, right? And sit up there and talk about, well, you know, athletes should be held to a higher standard. Or, but they won't say anything about Brett Favre, though. And a Molly Cam, and a Sarah Spain, and a Mina Kimes. You would sit there and plaster the media, you know, media plaster coverage all day about all these women coming out talking about, oh, Deshaun Watson, oh, well, you know, he tried to rape me 5 years ago, and Deshaun Watson, he looked at my titties when we was at a steakhouse a few years ago. Oh, I didn't like how Deshaun Watson looked at me. It made me feel uncomfortable. Yeah, we want to plaster and defame and destroy and desecrate the name of Deshaun Watson, but we're going to sit up here and protect Brett Favre? The fuck out of here. Phil Bryant, the former governor, when's he going to get prosecuted? Say, John Nolan, what do you say? He said they're still protecting the governor and him down here. All the Republicans are attacking the state auditor Shad White and winning. The governor spread all that money around. Yeah, yeah. Because I guarantee you, they were spending that money like it was going out of style. And I don't know why they targeted Shad White. Shad White was just doing his job. So let's attack the guy that's doing his job, but yet we're going to protect everybody who is a criminal. Make it make sense. This is when we live in a world where up is down and down is up. And all those names I mentioned, that ain't even tipping. That's not even serve as the tip of the iceberg. This thing is way bigger than Brett Favre. He just happened to be the biggest name in all this. But this is way bigger than Brett Favre. I guarantee you, if they really wanted to peel back the onion on this bullshit, a lot of heads will be rolling around here. There'll be a lot of heads rolling if they really expose this shit. If they really peel back the onion and be like, you know what? Why is Mississippi the poorest state in the in all the United States? What is going on down there where Mississippi is burning through cash and all that? What is going on down there? And if they really dug deep, it'll be all kinds of corruption being exposed. There'll be all kinds of backdoor deals in oil fields being exposed at 3 a.m. I'm pretty sure there'll be a sex scandal, because you can't have corruption without a sex scandal, right? I'm pretty sure someone's in the hotel room down there at the Marriott or at the Four Seasons or at, the Hilton down there being hog-tied, whipped, and there's probably some girl down there taking 3 in the mouth. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of shit that's going on that we don't know about. And if they really peel back the onion, a lot of bullshit would get exposed. But you guys, let me know what y'all think about this. I thank everybody for tuning in. If you're not subscribing to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and share these videos on your social media platforms. If you want to donate, there's the Cash App, there's the PayPal. Last but definitely not least, shouts out to the LDBC. This your man. Scream at me. Ho!